cloudy day. It's cold outside. Isn't climate change wonderful? Oh, it's hot and it's cold. And it's great and it's blustery and it's terrible. I've gotten to more and more often it seems that the weather goes from, oh, it's really nice out, to absolute temperature extremes in very short periods of time. So I'm Generation X. I grew up in the 80s. I was a teenager in the 90s. Graduated high school in 1997. I was 22 when 9/11 happened. And at 23 I was in the Army because of 9/11. My generation really didn't know what to do with itself. We are the what the hell do I do with myself generation. Because there was this very linear path that we were all given. We were all told, stay in school, don't do drugs, go to college, go get you a job. That is the path through life. Well, as many of our millennials and Zoomers and all you guys have figured out, that was a lie. Not an entire lie. It did work for some people, but for a majority of us folks, going to college was good, but it just saddled me with a ton of debt. Now, I did open my mind in college, and I did meet my wife in college, which, by the way, folks, if you're dating, or if you're looking for a quality spouse, and you're like, well, I'm attracted to smart people, which is my thing, you go to a college to get you a wife or a spouse. So, what happened to us? Well, the world changed. First of all, it got more corrupt. The corruption of the Reagan administration trickled down into all of our capitalistic ideals. It set the basis to get rid of pensions. It made it so that corporations don't have to take care of their people anymore. And it made us all very disposable. Everything has gotten more expensive. Everything has gotten, we're the richest country ever to exist in the history of humanity. And yet, we have an unconscionable enough amount of people who are broke, who are poor, who are poverty-stricken, and those are all different levels. And, you get sick once and it could wipe you out forever. It's the fact that is our country, that is who we are, is so appalling. There's a whole bunch of things that we take to the streets and we riot for, but none of them are the causes of why we're like this. Citizens United was the most horrible thing ever to exist. Citizens United is the series of laws that became lobbyists, where, corporations openly bribe politicians, the lobbyists. Well, we wanted to make medications more affordable, but the medical lobbyists for our for-profit medical industry really went hard to make sure that they could charge you whatever the hell they wanted. Oh, really? This is absolutely grounds for revolution. We should be out there shooting every single politician who took money from the for-profit medical industry. We, should absolutely go to those billionaire families who created the opioid crisis, who created every medical disaster that we have. Those are the people that we should be rioting against. When the Supreme Court decided that bribing somebody was considered speech, and that's how they did it, because Citizens United went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, we feel that bribing a politician is a way of communicating your desires to them. Therefore, It's covered under freedom of speech. You know, I'm sorry, there should have been mass rioting. There should have been an absolute overturning of the government. It should have been a day that lived in infamy. And it didn't. It absolutely did not. Nothing happened. Everyone just kind of shrugged and went, oh, well, that's unfortunate. And now here we are. Bribery of politicians is the norm. Our politicians do not care one whit what we believe because they're not interested. We're not paying them. Well, we are paying them through our taxes, but we're not bribing them the way the multi-billion-dollar corporations can. And therefore, we have to rely on billionaires to bribe the right politicians to make sure that our, system doesn't completely fall to pieces. That, my friends, is a plutocracy where the wealthy and the powerful rule. That is what we have become. Now, we have the power to undo this. We have the Second Amendment. We still have the ability to go out into the world and protest. We could turn the ship around if we felt like it. But people are so interested in their tiny little political causes. Oh, but what about my pronouns? That it's like, your pronouns? Nobody gives a shit about your pronouns. We really don't. You think it's a big deal, but it's not a big deal because if you decide to take those pronouns to the next level and get yourself medically altered, oh, that's going to cost you more money than you'll ever be able to afford in your entire life. And the for-profit medical industry will be right there to take advantage of you. For pronouns. If you weren't such a whiny little cuss about the whole thing, my generation is Generation X. We don't care. We're like, you want to do what? All right, dude, whatever. I mean, if this thing makes you happy, you do you. That is the attitude of most of us. The people who are on the internet screaming at you are trolls and like truly mentally ill people. And let's face it, the truly mentally ill live all over the internet because that's a place for you. You can stay in your home. You don't have to be out in public. There's no real consequences. You can just go online and be the most dastardly person you could ever be. And you could see what happens when people are allowed to be that way. It's one of the reasons why if people go way after you on the internet, just don't let that get to you. Now, that can be hard because we are not genetically programmed to survive a mobbing like that. That's not what we're designed for. But you got to realize that those folks who just enjoy attacking people on the internet, they're children. And if they're grown-ups, they're still children. Don't let the children run things. The adults have to run things. Because we have to be aware of the people manipulating and controlling us. And it's one thing to understand it, it's another thing to understand how. And then to figure out a way to slip on through so that you don't get hurt. It's all kinds of things going on out there, folks. Be careful. Good luck.